In Chapter 1, we're going to look at understanding teams. Organizational teamwork has expanded rapidly because of changes in the nature of jobs and the structure of organizations. The scientific study of group dynamics provides useful insights about how teams operate and how they can be improved. As your textbook explains, a group is more than a collection of people. There is a difference between people who are in a movie theater, the work group that is assembling a product, and the team that is playing football. To distinguish between these, researchers use several approaches that vary depending on which features are considered important. One approach is to describe the social characteristics of a group, which is shown in this table from your textbook. A group exists for a reason or purpose and has a goal that is shared. The people in a group have some type of relationship or are connected to one another. They recognize this and it binds them together. From a teamwork perspective, this interdependence is probably the most important characteristic of a group. They recognize that there is a collective to which one belongs. Formal and informal rules, roles, and norms of the group control the interactions of the members. Group members interact and communicate with one another. Communication is often viewed as a central process of a group. The people in the group influence each other. Finally, a group satisfies members' physical and psychological needs such that individuals are motivated to continue their participation in the group. From a psychological perspective, two processes define a group. The first is social identification, and the second is social representation. Social identification refers to the recognition that a group exists separately from others. It is the creation of a belief in us versus them. Identification is both a cognitive process, which includes classifying the world into categories, and an emotional process, which is viewing one's group as better than other groups. Social representation is the shared values, ideas, and beliefs that people have about the world. Over time, belonging to a group changes the ways its members view the world. This group develops a shared worldview through member interactions. Most definitions of teamwork classify a team as a special type of group. One key feature of a team is that members work together on a common project for which they are all accountable. However, other qualifiers can also be used to distinguish groups and teams. One common distinction relates to application. Teams typically are engaged in sports or work activities. They have applied functions, and the roles of team members are related to those functions. For example, members of a sports team have specific assigned roles, such as a pitcher or a shortstop on a baseball team. Teams usually exist within larger organizations. Their members have specialized knowledge, skills, and abilities related to their tasks. This is why researchers typically do not talk about a family as a team. In a family, roles are inherited and do not directly relate to tasks. This distinction appears in research on groups and teams. Research on groups typically is conducted in a laboratory setting, whereas research on teams typically is done in the field studies that focus on the use of teams in the workplace. Group is a more inclusive term than team. Groups range in size from 2 to thousands, whereas teams have a narrower range of size. A team is typically composed of 3 to 12 people who interact with one another directly, although this interaction may occur through communication technology. A team is not simply people who belong to the same group or who are jointly functioning in the same place. Some researchers focus on the performance and their definition of teamwork. In addition to team members having a common purpose, performance goals are connected to this purpose, for which everyone in the team is held accountable. Some research focuses on power and the definition of teams. For example, Hayes believes a team must actively cooperate to achieve its goals. For this to occur, a team must have independence, responsibility, and the power to operate. A team is not a group of people who perform a task under the rigid control of an authority figure. For a group to become a team, it must be empowered and must have some authority to act on its own. In addition, team members are more likely to work together cooperatively and provide assistance to one another than are members of other types of work groups. Because there is no firm defining and dividing line between a group and a team, the use of the terms in this book is somewhat arbitrary. When referring to research on group dynamics, especially laboratory research, the term group is used. When talking about applications in work environments where people are interdependent, the term team is used. For the in-between cases, group and team are used interchangeably. Within organizations, teams serve a variety of functions. Daily operations of the organization can be shifted to teams. Teams can address special problems, and they can also plan for the future and manage transitions. On the next slide, we will talk about 6 types of work teams on the basis of the functions they perform. The first type of team that is categorized based on the functions they perform is a production team. An example of this is a factory team that manufacture or assemble products on a repetitive basis. Service teams, such as maintenance crew and food services, conduct repeated transactions with customers. Management teams are composed of managers. They work together, plan, develop policy, or coordinate the activities of an organization. Project teams, such as research and engineering teams, bring experts together to perform a specific task within a defined period of time. Action or performing teams, such as sports teams, entertainment groups, and surgical teams, engage in brief performances that are repeated under new conditions and that require specialized skills and extensive training or preparation. I think the surgery teams really are the best example of this. Finally, parallel teams are temporary teams that operate outside normal work, such as employee involvement groups and advisory committees that provide suggestions or recommendations for changing an organization. One important distinction is the relationship of the team to the organization. Teams vary depending on how much power and authority they are given by their umbrella organizations. Researchers have suggested classifying teams by whether they are permanent or temporary, how much internal specialization and interdependence they require, and how much integration and coordination with other parts of the organization are needed. One of the most important distinctions among types of teams is how much power they are allocated. When an organization uses teams rather than individual workers to perform tasks, it is giving the team some power and authority to control the operations of its members. This shifting of power affects leadership, decision making, and how the work activities of the team are linked. There are 3 options for organizing people into work groups. They are a work group, a team, or a self-managed team. The differences among these options are presented in Table 1.2 from your textbook. Work groups are part of the organization's hierarchical system. Supervisors or managers who control the decision-making process lead these work groups. Group members typically work on independent tasks that are linked by the supervisor's direction or by the work system. Teams are given some power and authority, so they are somewhat independent of the organization's hierarchy. Their leaders are selected by management and given some managerial power. Team leaders can use a variety of techniques for making decisions, such as using the team to provide advice about decisions, having the team vote, or using consensus to make decisions. Team members' work activities are interdependent and coordinated by the leaders. Finally, self-managed teams are given significantly more power and authority than traditional work groups and are more independent of an organization's hierarchy. Team members typically select their leaders. As a result, the leaders have limited power and must facilitate, rather than control, the team's operations. The leaders must rely on democratic or consensus decision making because they have no authority to make teams accept their decisions. The work of team members is highly interdependent, and all team members work together to coordinate activities. The traditional approach to organizing people to perform a task is called scientific management. In this approach, managers or technical experts analyze a task and divide it into small activity units that are performed by individuals. The system is designed such that each activity unit is linked to other activity units, and individuals work separately to complete the entire task. It is the role of management to design the system and control the operations of the workers. It is the role of the workers to perform a specific activity. In other words, managers think and control, and the workers act. This traditional approach works very well under certain conditions. It requires that the task remain the same for some time because it is difficult to change the system. It requires that the process be not too complex or easily disrupted because the workers doing routine activities are unaware of what happens in other parts of the system. It focuses on productivity and often ignores concerns about quality and customer service because these factors require more commitment to the job. It assumes that there are workers who are willing to perform routine activities under controlled situations. Under these conditions, scientific management is the best approach, and the time and expense of developing teams is not needed. Teams are important, however, when the goal is to improve the way a product is made or a service is provided, when the job is complex, when customer service and quality are important, or when rapid change is necessary. These are the conditions that create the need for teams. Modern organizations are shifting to teamwork because of the changes in the characteristics of jobs and organizations. Many jobs are changing from routine to non-routine work, which encourages the use of teamwork. Non-routine jobs involve more complexity, interdependence, uncertainty, variety, and change than routine jobs. Jobs of this type are difficult to manage in traditional work systems, but are well suited for teamwork. Non-routine jobs are found in a number of contemporary work settings. Teams are a good way to handle factory jobs that have become increasingly complex because of technology or other factors. The individual factory worker operating a single machine all day is being replaced by a team of workers who monitor, troubleshoot, maintain, and manage a complex and integrated work system. Because the technology is integrated, the workers must be as well. These changes also affect professional work. Imagine designing a new product for the marketplace. Design, manufacturing, marketing, and sales of the product require expertise from a variety of disciplines and support from many parts of the organization. Given that few individuals possess all the necessary knowledge and expertise to bring a product to completion, a diversity of knowledge is gained by using the team approach. In addition, using team members from several departments enhances support within the organization for a new product. The team members help coordinate the project throughout the organization. The rate at which change is increasing in business and society is phenomenal. Markets are expanding and competition is progressively more global. It is difficult to keep up with these changes using traditional approaches to organizational design. The changing business environment is forcing organizations to change the way they operate. Communications technology allows organizations to create new ways to integrate their operations. Businesses know they need to reduce cost, improve quality, reduce the time spent creating new products, improve customer service, and increase their adaptability to an increasingly competitive environment. As organizations change to meet contemporary demands, new organizational characteristics increase the importance of teamwork. One significant new characteristic of this change is a shift to simpler organizational hierarchies, a transition driven by the desire to save cost and increase flexibility by reducing layers of management. To a certain extent, teams have replaced managers, and teams now often carry out traditional management functions. Teams provide a way to integrate and coordinate the various parts of an organization and do this in a more timely and cost-effective manner than traditional organizational hierarchies. Teams execute tasks better, learn faster, and change more easily than traditional work structures, which are all characteristics required by contemporary organizations. One item to note is that when you remove layers of management, that is known as a flat organization. During the past century, the scientific study of group dynamics has evolved into an interdisciplinary research field. The Industrial Revolution shifted most work organizations to a hierarchical approach that used scientific management to design jobs. Manufacturing jobs were simplified, and managers ensured that the production system operated efficiently. Scientific management was a system that worked well, but it also created problems. It alienated workers, who then became increasingly difficult to motivate. It became more difficult to set up as technical systems increased in complexity. It was inflexible and difficult to manage. Finally, it was difficult to successfully incorporate new goals other than efficiency. The scientific management model of organization began to be questioned during the 1920s and 1930s because of social problems in the workplace. The Hawthorne studies, which were research projects designed to examine how environmental factors such as lighting and work breaks affected work performance, inadvertently revealed that social factors had an important impact on performance. In some cases, because people were being studied, they tried to perform better. This is now known as the Hawthorne effect. During the 1960s and 1970s, socio-technical systems theory, also known as STS, provided a way to analyze what people do at work and to determine the best way of organizing them. According to STS, teams should be used when jobs are technically uncertain rather than routine, when jobs are interdependent and require coordination to perform, and when the environment is turbulent and requires flexibility. Many jobs today meet these criteria. The contemporary emphasis of the 1970s included the rise of Japan as a manufacturing power. This resulted in the distribution of high-quality, inexpensive products into the global marketplace. When business experts visited Japan to see how Japanese goals had been achieved, they found that teamwork, in the form of quality circles, seemed to be the answers. Quality circles are parallel teams of production workers and supervisors who meet to analyze problems and develop solutions to quality problems in the manufacturing process. Throughout the 1980s, companies in the United States and Europe experimented with quality circle teams and later total quality management teams. The jobs performed by workers were still primarily individual, but workers were organized in teams as a way to improve quality in other aspects of production. The focus on quality and manufacturing launched the teamwork movement, but other factors have sustained it. The increased use of information technology, the downsizing of layers of management, business process reengineering, and globalization have all contributed to the use of teams. Teamwork in U.S. companies expanded rapidly during the 1990s and included more professional and managerial teams. Research shows that 85% of companies with 100 or more employees use some type of work team. In addition, some organizations are restructuring and using teams as a central element in the integration of various parts of their organization. Because of the changing nature of teams, three issues are increasingly important: dynamic composition, technology and distance, and empowerment and delayering. Teams now operate in a more dynamic and complex environment. Rather than stable teams that work together for long periods of time, contemporary teams are often more transitory with changing membership. Teamwork can be done by people working together in one place or distributed around the world. In either case, teams are relying on technology to support their communications and work. As organizations rely more on the use of teams, power is shifting from traditional organizational hierarchies to teams. Teams are replacing many traditional management functions. As mentioned in the previous slide, the power is shifting from management to teams. Two current movements within psychology are affecting the study of teamwork. Multiculturalism and diversity are becoming increasingly important as our society and the global workforce becomes more diverse. Diversity research examines the variety of effects of the different types of diversity within teams. Because of communications technology, the study of transnational teams combines research on international diversity with the impacts of technology. The second movement is the rise of positive psychology. This is the study of people's strengths and how to promote positive functioning. Many positive psychology factors relate to the study of teamwork, such as supportive personal relations, reflexivity and learning, empowerment, and appreciative inquiry. In addition, positive psychology provides an alternative perspective on the meaning of team success and how to achieve it. In this slide, we're going to talk about two important researchers, Triplett and Lewin. Triplett's research showed the effects of working alone versus working in a group. For example, he observed that bicycle racers who pedaled around a racetrack in groups were faster than those who pedaled around alone. The effect is called social facilitation because the presence of other people facilitates or increases performance. Lewin created the term group dynamics to show his interest in the group as a unit of study. For the first time, psychologists took the study of groups seriously rather than simply looking at the effects of groups on individuals. Lewin's innovations in research methods, applications, and focus still define much of the study of group dynamics today. Lewin developed a new approach to research in psychology. He began with the belief that there is nothing so practical as a good theory. His innovation was in refining how theories in psychology should be used. He developed an approach called action research, where scientists develop theories about how groups operate and then use their theories in practical applications to improve the operations of groups. The process of applying a theory and evaluating its effects is then used to refine the theory and improve the operation of groups. One of Lewin's primary concerns was social change. He believed it is easier to change a group than it is to change an individual. If the behavior of individuals is changed and the individual returns to the everyday life, the influence of the people around them tend to reverse the behavior change. If the behavior of a group or people is changed, the group continues to reinforce or stabilize the behavior change in its members. Lewin developed models of organizational change and group dynamic techniques that are still used today. You will actually study these techniques in classes throughout the program, including the organizational behavior class. This concludes Chapter 1. Please let me know if you have any questions.